It's Levack and Goz on 104.5 The Team.
Big day here at your home for Yankees baseball, 104.5 The Team, as we prepare for the Yankees to go to, well, they're already in Houston. They've been in Houston since they finished the game against the Cleveland Indians. They just got right on the planes and headed down to Houston. So they're at least comfortable there. There's no jet lag. There's none of that nonsense. The Yankees not supposed to be here at this point, and they are here. Buster, how in the world did my New York Yankees get past the Cleveland Indians?
Oh, boy. Well, first off, I do think that the Yankees have this incredible advantage, not only against the Indians, but against every other team in the postseason. That's the depth and quality of their bullpen. Before Game 5 the other day, Terry Francona was sitting in his office with myself and the other guys who were working radio on this, and he looked at us and he said, how the heck did they get Tommy Kahnle? It was bad enough that they got David Robertson, but now they got this guy, and they got this guy, and they got this guy. You know, they have an all-star, Dylan Betances, who's obviously having a crisis of confidence right now, and it doesn't matter because they have so much depth in that bullpen. I think that was a big factor, and look, I know I know Corey Kluber, and some of the other Indians, when they were asked about their injuries, they weren't going to talk about it. But the Indians were a diminished team in that series. Corey Kluber obviously had something going on, a back issue in all likelihood. I checked with Indians people on it yesterday, and they basically said, look, if Corey's not going to talk about it, we're not going to talk about it, because they don't want to make it seem like it's an excuse, but it's a reality. It affected him. Edwin Encarnacion's injury in Game 2, spraining his ankle, that had a huge impact on their lineup. And Andrew Miller, as great as he was last year, wasn't quite as dominant, wasn't quite the weapon this year. So you give the Yankees credit for taking advantage of all that.
Buster Olney with us right now on 104.5 The Team. It was kind of obvious that something was off with Kluber.
Yeah.
But he's not talking about what a back injury? What makes you that ineffective when you've been the most dominant pitcher in the league all year?
Yeah, if I had to bet on one thing, it would be a back injury. I heard stuff around the edges about possibly an ankle injury, and then Terry Francona, when asked about a back thing by reporters the other day, he basically said, he's got some stuff going on. Evaluators who saw his Game 1 start were saying he didn't look right. He just doesn't seem very smooth mechanically. And the other day, the Indians, going into that game, I think they were wondering if he'd be able to bounce back. But he's Corey Kluber. He's a Cy Young Award winner. How are you not going to give him the ball? I am going to be curious to talk with Indians people next spring in more of a conversation of if you could do it all over again. I wonder if they would have, knowing what they know now, would have gone to Kluber and said, look, if you're not 100% right, then maybe we should go to somebody else. Because he certainly, 6 1/3 innings and 2 starts, getting beaten up the way that he did, it really hurt the Indians' cause.
Buster, just so you know, since the Yankees won, I've been driving Goz insane. He took the day off. Producer Woods is the other voice you're going to hear today.
Buster, the Yankees went 2-5 against the Astros this year, gave up 11 home runs against them. And how is it possible for the Yankees to even take them down in this series?
Well, again, I think that their bullpen gives them such an advantage that if this game is close, if it's tied, if the Yankees have a lead of a run or two going in the late innings, I think that you would give the advantage to the Yankees because of the fact that their bullpen's better than Houston's bullpen. I think an absolutely critical thing, the most pivotal thing for the Yankees in this series is going to be to shut down the guys ahead of Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa. George Springer and whoever hits in the number 2 spot, that might be Alex Bregman, maybe it's Josh Reddick, and that's not going to be easy. Springer in that series against Boston went 7 for 17. Reddick went 6 for 16. Bregman had 2 homers and he hit a double. You know this. Jose Altuve is going to hit, right? He led the majors and he led the American League in hits each of the last 4 years. He won the batting title. He was 8 for 15 against Boston. He's going to hit. Carlos Correa is probably going to do some damage too. As Clint Hurdle, the Pirates manager, once said to me, the best protection comes from the front. And if the Yankee pitchers are constantly in situations where Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa are coming up with runners on base, they're gonna lose. that they're flat out going to lose the series. They have to limit the damage of those two spots in the lineup.
Buster, is there a list of Astros players that can be listed as injured so when they have an excuse after the Yankees win?
Oh, listen to you. Listen to you. You don't want to hear it. I totally get it. I heard down the stretch Dallas Keuchel wasn't 100%, which is good news for you and the Yankees because he has a 1.41 ERA in his career against the Yankees, and that's what you heard about Corey Kluber, right? Going into that Yankee series, Corey Kluber always dominated the Yankees.
That's what Keuchel scares the daylights out of me. Ever since he was a Valley cat, he's had great stuff.
Yeah, and I think especially in the past when the Yankees had, older right-handed hitter, the slugger types, he would take advantage of that. It's a little different team now, I think, and I'm going to be curious about the adjustments that they make, especially Aaron Judge, who we've seen this year already battle his way through one colossal slump. And, in that series against the Indians, 1 for 20 with 16 strikeouts. So you saw a lot of breaking balls. You would assume that they'll work him away, the same way that the Indians did. And it'll be really interesting to see how Aaron Judge adjusts.
Buster, the Jose Altuve versus Aaron Judge debate has been, I think it's overworked to this point. But with the playoff performances both these guys have had, is it put to bed now? Is Jose Altuve just miles ahead of Aaron Judge?
Well, in terms of the MVP race, just to be clear, the ballots by rule were required to be in the first day after the end of the regular season. So what we've seen in the postseason with Altuve dominating the Red Sox and Judge struggling against the Indians, that has no bearing on the ballots. So the ballots theoretically are already in. I can't tell you for sure if that's the case, but writers who cast those ballots are supposed to turn them in, I think, within 48 hours at the end of the regular season. I mean, they're just different players. Jose Altuve is just a hit machine, and Aaron Judge is someone who has an impact where he goes on these runs, and he absolutely carries the Yankees. They would not be in this position of playing in the American League Championship Series for not the incredible work that he did all through the first half of the regular season and down the stretch.
Buster Olney with us right now, 104.5 The Team. You're home for Yankees baseball. The game tonight, first pitch, 8:08. Buster, last week on Friday, Joe Girardi's being run out of town, on a rail. Yep. Now there seems to be some Yankee fans coming back down to earth and worried about him not being here. You seem to think he could actually walk away?
I do. I think there's a possibility that he could. You could see it in his face. You could see it in his body language. You can see it in everything. He's so emotional after these recent wins. He felt terrible about his mistake. And I've known Joe for 20 years. I would never pretend that I'm a close friend of his by any means. But if I was, my first question to him would be, are you having fun? Is this an enjoyable job for you? Because it does, and we saw this with John Farrell and Terry Francona in Boston. I think these managerial jobs in these big markets, there's just a shorter shelf life. And Joe's been in this job for 10 years, and his contract's up. I'm assuming, he's a really careful guy. He's a good guy. I'm sure he doesn't, he's not going to starve if he doesn't come back and manage the Yankees. And I would tell him, again, if I were a close friend, look, if you're not having fun, then go home, watch your son play high school baseball the rest of that time, spend time with him, and then if you want to manage in a year, 2 years, he's certainly going to get opportunities because he's so accomplished. If I had to, again, it's just a guess, it's speculation. If I had to bet the family farm in Vermont either way, I don't think he's going to be back as manager.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm sorry. That's like a kick in the gut to me. Like I've gotten, I've defended him and Cashman from the rip. Because Buster, the way I look at it is, it's this situation where you at one point it's spare no expense, win at all costs, do whatever you have to do, and then all of a sudden they were good. All right, incorporate young players, save money, and these two guys, they win one in 09, and look, they're in the ALCS again with a complete different version of the team.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell you if the Yankees, if Joe were to decide he wants to come back, and that's one thing we haven't heard from Joe all this year. Yes, I want to be back as manager of the Yankees. It's up to them whether or not they're going to bring me back. As they go through, if the Yankees wind up bringing him back and Joe decides to come back, then heck, that's fine. He certainly has earned that right. He's had success as a manager, and again, I think you think about all the drama that different managers and and coaches, college football coaches create in other places. And the Yankees don't have to worry about so much of that because Joe is such a steady human being. He's such a steady person, but it does seem like it just eats him up. And I've, talked to friends who say that they feel like he's gotten more and more tense through the years. It's a hard job. And if he decided that he had other stuff he'd rather do, I mean, who could blame him?
Buster, let's switch it over to the NLCS. Actually, let's go to the NLDS first. Another disappointing year in the playoffs for the Nationals. What changes need to be made in Washington to get this team over the hump?
Well, here's the thing: is at the end of the day, when they sit down in their staff rooms and have those conversations, there's not really that much you would change about this team. They got Max Scherzer, who's going to win the National League Cy Young Award at the front of the rotation. You got Steven Strasburg, who's one of the best pitchers in baseball behind him. You have certainly depth in the rotation. You made the bullpen better. You have an incredible everyday lineup that'll be in place for next year, but I think that only sort of feeds into how wrenching that loss was last night, because it's not like you're going to turn over a bunch of stuff. Jason Wirth, their left fielder, is a free agent at year's end. I'm assuming they're going to turn the page. They'll have Adam Eaton back in their lineup every day. They're going to have to make some more moves in the bullpen. I'm guessing they're going to add some rotation depth. But what changes for next year, whether they like it or not, is that the pressure gets ratcheted up even more. And I don't think there was any team that went into the postseason under more pressure than Washington because of their past postseason failures. And next year, it's only going to get worse, because next year is the year that perhaps the last year of Bryce Harper playing with the Nationals. Their window of opportunity with Bryce is down to 1 year.
Buster, only before we let you go, it's Tuesday, October 24th. Who are the two teams on the field?
Well, first off, I've lost my credibility in this regard, okay? Before the season started, I picked the Indians to win the World Series over the Chicago Cubs. Last year, I picked the Cubs to win the World Series. They could ride that all the way to the end. So I just want to make very clear, I don't have credibility right now. I think the Yankees are going to beat the Astros. I think they're playing well. I think the bullpen depth in the postseason makes a big difference, because Girardi has the ability to cover anywhere from 5 to 8 innings in a way that no other manager does. And I think the Dodgers are going to be on the other side. I think the ripple effects from that game last night, the pitching problems the Cubs have in their bullpen, eventually are going to take them down. And we saw the Dodgers benefit from the chaos that the Diamondbacks pitching staff became after that wild card game, where they were scrambling always to catch up after that. And I think that's where the Cubs are as they start that series.
See, the way I see it, Buster, I predicted the Nationals to beat the Yankees, so now the Nationals are out. No one can beat the Yankees.
See, here's the thing, is that there were at least 9 or 10 situations during the year when I sensed that you were ready to just not only jump off the bandwagon, but jump off a bridge someplace when the Yankees weren't going well and Aaron Judge wasn't hitting. Am I wrong?
Well, bandwagon never, bridge maybe.
Okay.
I'll take the bandwagon with me if I have to.
There you go.
Buster, man, we appreciate you, and I hope all your travels are safe, and we look forward to catching you on ESPN.
Yeah, good luck. It should be a great series. My hotel room, I can literally look outside. I'm seeing Minute Maid Field, and there are already people starting to line up out there.
I love that city, man. Everything looks good now? They're completely recovered?
No, they're not completely recovered, but they recovered a long way. And to hear the stories from the folks who work downtown about the way it was, it's really scary.
Oh, man. All right. Well, Buster, we appreciate you, and enjoy it, because, even though I know you don't like hearing me when they win, it's kind of fun to watch this Yankee team, isn't it?
No, it's fun. It's all good.
All right. Have a great day, sir.
See you guys.